Hi and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be taking a look at the technical analysis on Solana, where I'll be reviewing the most recent price action and sharing my short to medium term Solana price predictions. As I get into today's video, guys, smash that like button. Really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, subscribe and stay up to date with all the content that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Guys, let's get right down into today's video. So here we have Solana paired up with USDT. We're on the 1-day Binance chart, and yeah, we are still tracking a bearish move for Solana to the downside. This was after we hit the high range expectation between $185 and $198. This was back here in May of 21st, and of course we started to move on down. We lost support of the 50 EMA, the blue line, the 50 SMA, the yellow line, and at the moment we're finding support on the 200-day EMA. The current price of the 200-day EMA, for reference, is $130.22. We did wick down lower than this on the 24th of June with a low of $122. Okay, so Solana here is still showing some bearish patterns, right? Although we've found brief support, technically speaking, we closed lower than the 200-day EMA on the 23rd of June. And of course, we rallied right the way back up again, and we found some recent resistance right now as well, which is a previous area of support. Let me show you where this currently sits, just so you guys can see what I'm looking at. And it's this area right here between $137.78 and $142.50. This is where the price is currently getting rejected. If we take a look at this, we can see there was support over here on the 13th of May. There was support over here on the 14th of June. And now, since we've lost this area of support, it has turned into an area of resistance. Here, yesterday we got rejected on the 25th of June, and today, the 26th, we're also getting some rejections. Okay, so this area is now what was previous support turning into resistance. What was previously demand for buying has turned into selling pressure for Solana. Okay, so here we are likely to see more slippage to the downside. And as I was talking about previously, we are tracking a bit more of a move to the downside, but I'm hopeful that we can actually find ourselves with a double bottom situation, which is this area right down here. I'm going to highlight this in yellow. You can see that we already came down into this range on the 24th of June. It's between $116 and $126. This area is an area that we were seeing previous amounts of buying pressure, both down here on the 13th of April, the 30th of April, and of course the 1st of May, coming back down into this range again on the 24th of June, and we can see that there's no closures between the $116 and $126. Essentially, this is an area where there is some support to be found because there's a lot of buying pressure here. Essentially, the market is telling us that this is where they think the value is. Okay, so it's quite an interesting one. My minimum expectations, though, are $116, with the expected typical range of retracement going down to $104. So if we are able to keep this area of support between 116 and 126, then my minimum expectations will be met here and we'll continue our run to the upside afterwards. However, should we lose this area of support, I am targeting out a minimum of $104.26. Okay, it is a three-wave corrective pattern through Elliott wave theory, and this is typically where you would find things going between $104, and actually I'm going to show you the exact range just so that everyone is really clear on the targeted area here. So we had a high of 188.89, so I'm just going to go ahead and make sure I put this on the right area. So $104.26 to $90.61. I'm going to put a little yellow box area right down in here so that you guys can see exactly what it is that we're actually referencing. Okay, I'm going to just leave that there, remove the fibs. And so you can see if we do lose this area, the minimum expectation, $116, we do lose that area of support, then the next range that we're going to be targeting is between $90 and $104. Okay, and that's going to be where Solana finds the reversal in the market, in my humble opinion. The structure that we are tracking here is very corrective. It is giving us a lot of ideas that actually things are quite positive for Solana, not necessarily negative. If we throw on our smart money concepts, you can see that this area of previous support is also an area where there is a discounted range, where this is where people are finding the value, where they think the price is likely to kind of recover and start to push upwards. But we are, of course, in bearish times at the moment on the smaller time frames when it comes to Solana. And as such, we have a strong low at the moment here on the daily time frame, but I don't think it's going to remain a strong low if we continue to test out that range between $116 and $126. So we want to be aware of that. Equilibrium is sat higher than the 50 EMA, the 50 SMA, so we know there's a lot of resistance here. You can also see that resistance in with these red areas as well. Now, positively, we do have a weak high indicating that this is just a short-term correction. I know it's lasted quite some time since March of 2024 to where we are today, but it is a short-term correction in terms of the structures of the candlesticks that are forming here, indicating that this isn't going to be a long-lasting trend to the downside, but instead going to be over reasonably shortly, and then we should start to see some progression back to the upside. So smart money concepts isn't really giving us any areas of concern in my humble opinion. If we do come over to the stochastic RSIs, this is where I think we have the most problems and probably the most concerns when it comes to Solana's price action. The stochastic RSI on the daily time frame has rapidly started moving from the oversold area towards the overbought area, but we haven't really seen any decent price recovery. So this is showing us that there's a lack of momentum behind the price movements as we've started to see a bit of a bump to the upside over the last 2 days. So knowing this, we can see that Solana unfortunately has more slippage to the downside. Now, the stochastic RSI does not give us an indication as to the size of the price retracements or price movements. It just shows us that there isn't a lot of momentum behind the price, meaning that if we are going down and that is a lack of momentum, we're not seeing the sellers. And if price is moving up and we're seeing a lack of momentum, then we're not seeing the buyers. And that's currently where we sit at the moment. We can see there's a little bit of demand, but it's not a significant amount that's going to take us out of this kind of troublesome time that Solana finds itself in at the moment. So we want to be aware of that. Now, on the RSI, we can see that we've corrected down quite nicely, heading down to the oversold area, but we're not there just yet. We're below the 50 level, so indicating still bearish times here for Solana on the relative strength index. Positively, there are no divergences to be noted here, nothing of major concern. When it comes to the relative strength index, there's no diversion in relation to the price action. So for the most part, not terribly too concerned over what we're seeing on the divergence indicator and the RSI. So all in all, not terribly too bad. Our volumes show us exactly what's going on though. Here we can see that there's a decrease in volume during this entire correction. So if we zoom out and spend some time zooming out here, we can see that volumes are decreasing as we're in this corrective pattern. This tells us that there isn't a lot of momentum in this correction. There's not an appetite to be selling Solana into this correction to the downside. It is a short-term movement with overlapping candlesticks and a decrease in volume overall. So although that on the smaller timeframes there are some increases for sure, you can see down here there's a little increase as we started to push back down, but we're not seeing massive amounts of selling pressure, basically equaling a massive trend for Solana to the downside overall. So for Solana on the daily time frame, I'm terribly confident that we're going to be in pretty decent positions on the longer term. Ultimately, where we are right now, I'm not terribly too concerned about it, and I do think we're going to see a little bit more of an opportunity to dollar cost average and build out those positions. I'm hopeful that we can hold the $116 to $126 range. If we can, then that's going to be a strong positive area for Solana to really hold and take us to those next levels. If we lose 116, do expect a better price for dollar cost averaging towards that $104 and maybe a little bit more slippage towards the $90. But guys, you can let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on all of this in the comments down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And more importantly, what's your price prediction for Solana on the short to medium term? If you found today's video useful, smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe. And if you haven't checked this video out, give it a click and stay up to date with other projects in the crypto space.